Hey everyone, Jeff here. So we left off in our last video on this exact screen right here that's in front of us, talking about the configuration in the GC1000 series controllers with the GC Configurator from Keyence. So anyway, I want to go from the configuration tab, which is up here at the top, and I want to go into the programming tab. Now, again, like I mentioned in the last video, this is one way of programming it, not the way of programming it. So whatever you find your need is for your program, that's how you need to program your configuration, not exactly how I'm doing it. This is one way to do it, and you're more than welcome to use it, but again, it's one way, not the way. Once you've got all your configuration set up, though, like we have here, go ahead and go over to the Program tab, and it's going to say, do you want to register all your devices to be inserted? You could say, well, I only want my input devices, I want both of them, or don't place any of them. Basically, you'll have to place them all yourself. Well, in my case, I'm cool with I got to put all those in the program somewhere, so yeah, absolutely, put them all in there for me so I don't have to drag and drop a bunch of things. Okay, with that being said, though, it's gone ahead and populated all of them. Yeah, it populated all of them for me, so I've got my outputs over here, and then obviously all my inputs over here. Now, this is where you got to know your logic gates. Because if you don't know your logic gates, you're going to have a little bit of an issue here. So remember, like in a logic gate, you've got this and this equals this, or this equals that. Not is obviously reversed, and then I don't tend to use NAND, NOR, or XOR, but guarantee you get into a lot of this stuff and you're going to need that stuff. So you may have to go back and do your truth tables and your logic gates to kind of figure out what you're going to need for all that stuff. Some of these you probably will never use, and some of them you'll use a lot more than we care to admit. But anyway, most of these things you'll use a lot of AND logic for, and you'll go from there. And that's because that's generally what I find myself using more than anything. So I want to actually break this up so that if I have a technician coming out to my machine for some reason, he's going to end up having to open up this program, and he's going to want to know what's going on, and he can see this a little clearer, and it's just a little bit neater. So I'm going to actually drop in two AND logic gates here. And what I'm going to do with those is I'm going to go ahead, you can either hit the plus sign to add more inputs, or you can hit the negative sign, obviously, to remove them. You can also right-click on them, and then you could probably go into like detailed settings, and then you can go to input count. Well, I need like 5 of them or whatever, you know. I actually need 3 of them, so I'm going to leave it at 3. I can go ahead and label it and call it e-stop and gates. And gates, because that's what it's going to control. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then I'm going to just drag and drop a little line from my input device over to my logic gate. Let's go over here. I'm only going to use 2 for it. And I'm actually going to move him over here so he's a little bit cleaner on my board. And I'm just going to drag and drop him into there, as well as my rope switch. Again, I could have just done it all in one AND function, but I want to have it a little cleaner so that my technician that has to come out and see this later on has a little bit of a cleaner and easier understanding of what's going on with my program. At the same time, if I maybe had like an output over here, maybe I want to add like a, in fact, maybe I will go ahead and do that. Well, we're not going to do it for this particular episode, but maybe what we want to do is add like an extra output that says, oh, only our gate switch and e-stop is pulled, or maybe just our rope switch is pulled. Then we would maybe just want to have like one of these in here. Maybe you would want that in there. But for me, it's the nice, clean environment to work with. From there, though, I know that all 4 of these are going to control my outputs, because if one of these is broken or open, I want it to kill everything. So I'm going to go ahead and say, put that to the air dump, put that to my drives, put that to my PLC, and by the way, let me know when that's off. Okay. With that being said, though, I have a reset button here, and I'm like, well, I need to use this reset for something, because I don't want these to just be like, oh, well, the e-stop's been cleared, now power the machine back up. No, I want to physically know that that machine is down, and I want to be able to manually reset it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually double-click on this, or you could also right-click on it, go to detailed settings, and it's going to open up the same thing. You're going to have this little window here that pops up that gives you the detailed settings. So you can go in and you can change your terminal block, change your connections, change all of those informations that we'd already talked about in the configuration setting. And And I'm going to tell you you can use this EDM, but I would suggest we just leave that alone. So what I'm going to do is there's these 3 little checkboxes down here. Enable the self-diagnosis of the input. I would suggest you leave that checked. Okay, you have an error reset input. So if it errors out for some reason, you can reset it with the error. I would leave that unchecked as well. It's not necessary. But in our case, we need to have some kind of manual reset. So we need to use a reset input. So we're going to check that box and go from there. Once that's done, that's it. That's all it is. Just very simple and plain as that. So now we've got a reset port. Now we're going to actually drag and drop a line from the reset switch over there to that. And I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of them. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, you can't do that for that the auxiliary output. And that's okay because I didn't really want it for that. But I just wanted to double check that and verify. So from there, then you're going to go ahead and drag and drop just like you did in the other. And there you have it. That is literally all it takes for your configuration. At that point, then, what you would do is you would make sure your controller is connected, and I don't have a controller on me or at my location, so I'm clearly not going to transfer this over for you to see. But you would go ahead and you would save your current settings, and then I'm just going to save this as temp trial to my desktop. The settings will be transferred to GC. Transferring settings will clear the entire history data. Do you want to continue? And obviously, yes, of course I do. It failed to connect, obviously, because I don't have a connection to a GC unit, like I said. But in the case that you did, you'd go ahead and transfer and you'd walk through the steps that it would clearly lay out for you. I do believe there's a password you have to have, and I believe the password is 4 ones in a row. And obviously put that in once, and it's good to go. And then you can change your password too from what it is. But and then you can, no, that's not it. That's not all I want to say. Sorry. You can go to the monitoring window. You can kind of monitor what's going on with each one of your inputs and your outputs to see whether they're coming on or off and what's turning on and stuff, which is really handy. We also have a simulation mode we can go into where everything we can see it's waiting for a reset. So we can go ahead and toggle the reset on that, and obviously all of our stuff would turn on. If we broke the e-stop, reset it, obviously everything would be happy, but it's not reset until we reset the switch. So there is a simulator here, so we could go through and test our program without actually having to go online with it, which is really handy. And I mean, that's really handy. But this would be the same similarity to what's actually going on in the monitoring tab. The difference being that it's what's physically going on in the controller, not what's going on in the simulation. We can obviously go back to the edit tab, simulation, and that's okay. So, kind of gives you a pretty quick and easy, simple rundown of the GC configuration software by Keyence Corporation. That pretty much sums it up. So, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to say thank you all for watching, and always remember to stay safe.